Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December 2025 meeting of Safe Silver Spring. Thank you for joining us. This is our last quarterly meeting of the year. We meet 4 times a year in February, May, October, and December, and we hope that'll be the schedule in 2026. Our guest tonight, our featured speaker, is Commander Jason Cokinos, who is the Third District Commander, and I will toss it over to him for his presentation. At the conclusion of his presentation, you can ask any questions you want. They've been very generous with their time, and they've tried to answer all of our questions. And if you've got some information that you'd like to put into the chat, please feel free to do that. And we will post this information online tomorrow. So without further ado, Commander Cokinos.
All right. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again. I think this is great to be able to share information and then obviously posting it online for people that can't make it to be able to watch it on YouTube and stuff is great. So for those that don't know me, I've been on a few times now, but if you're joining for the first time, I'm Jason Cokinos. I'm the commander of the 3rd District, which is Burtonsville all the way down 29 through White Oak, Hillendale, Four Corners, Forest Glen, and downtown Silver Spring along Georgia Avenue all the way to DC. So pretty big area. It's the whole East County and the Silver Spring region is all under the 3rd District. So I'm going to start off with essentially a couple things. I'll talk about just some updated crime numbers. So we have that, tell you kind of where we are, where we're headed, and then some of the initiatives that we're doing and we have done recently since our last meeting. So it is December 2025. We still have, 2 weeks left or so of the year, and then we'll start to close out all of the crime data for 2025. Preliminarily, things are looking good. So for those that have heard me speak before, 2022, 2023 where crime was skyrocketing. And 2024, we closed the year out starting to make some progress with things going down. And in 2025, we've kept our foot on the gas pedal with crime and public safety and improving the area in Silver Spring. And we're seeing continued successes from those efforts. We have a lot of officers that are working hard, doing a variety of different things. And then also we have a lot of partnerships that have helped with our public safety. So whether we're dealing with HHS or we're dealing with our urban district in downtown Silver Spring, our council partners and lots of other agencies, DOT and different things like that we work with that all help and contribute to enhancing safety and public safety. So violent crime continues to go down, which is what I said last year was happening. We're seeing continued declines, which is great news. So shootings so far, we just have a few weeks left of the year. Hopefully it stays heading in this way, but down about 18% compared to last year, and last year was down from the years before. So we're trending. Our goal is to try to get back to pre-pandemic numbers, although the real goal is zero, of course. We would love to have zero crime in all categories. That's obviously what we're always striving for, is pushing it down, down, and down. There's a lot of factors that make that challenging in different times where we can't control humans and how sometimes they react and the choices that they make, but we can try our best through a variety of ways to encourage positive behavior. So shootings down 18%. So far, overall, all crime categories in total, overall crime is down about 9% in the entire 3rd District compared to last year. So that's a good sign. Robberies down about 6%. Stolen auto down about 19%. We've been really focusing on retail theft in downtown Silver Spring. That's down 22% compared to last year, which was down. However, retail theft is still a problem. It's still way up compared to 2019. So although we're seeing progress, it's going to take, I think, another year or two of really dedicated effort. We did a few hour detail at the Safeway on Thayer Avenue on Monday night. We got 7 shoplifters in like a 3-hour period. They were all different, coming in, stealing, stealing, stealing. So we're really working hard to try to work on that. And a lot of it is organized retail theft. So when we start to hold these folks accountable, they're stealing things that they're then selling, taking into the District of Columbia, selling it on Facebook Marketplace, different things like that, where they're just taking products to sell. The folks that we deal with that are stealing, a sandwich or something because they're hungry or they're homeless, we try to hook those people up with services and get them help. We're not looking to, incarcerate those folks unless we have to. Unfortunately, sometimes a lot of people have warrants out and things of that nature, so we still have to take them to jail. Carjackings is a very positive thing. So this year we've had so far 14, which is the lowest since 2019. So we are really heading in a good direction. To put that into perspective, in 2023, that was like our worst crime year. We had 40. So almost one a week. Obviously, 40 is less than 52, but really close to almost every week someone was getting carjacked just in Silver Spring. That's not happening. We're seeing a very steep trend downward there. That's very nice. We've had very few of them so far. 14 is almost, a little over one a month, which is good. Still more work to do there, though, but we're seeing progress. Theft of auto parts are down. There's been some series of significant arrests with people that are stealing catalytic converters and airbags and stuff. That stuff is still happening, but it's less than it has been due to some investigative work. And we had some federal partners that assisted because there was this regional cross state lines group that was stealing these catalytic converters and stuff. So there was actually some federal prosecutions that were made. We are seeing just a slight uptick compared to last year in the car break-ins, just the normal small, change, sunglasses, things of that nature. It's very frustrating. A lot of times it's kids in the middle of the night going to different neighborhoods and checking for unlocked cars and stuff. So we want people to lock their doors, don't leave valuables in plain sight in your car and things of that nature. We continue to focus on those. That's a kind of a stubborn crime that has been happening for as long as I've been around, and it's just a thing that happens a lot of places, unfortunately. Um, so the we'll get some better numbers. I think at our February meeting, we'll have solid numbers on where we finish this year. We'll be able to present, but preliminarily, with about 2 weeks left of the month, we're seeing some very good indications of a continued direction towards a safer Silver Spring, which is very nice. What happens when violent crime starts to decline? It allows us more time to do the other things that really bother people on a daily basis, and that's the quality of life stuff. So we've been focusing on quality of life in downtown Silver Spring. So when I mean quality of life, I'm talking about public urination, disorderly conduct, drinking in public, drug use, drug sales, things that are troubling for folks that are out in the community and in different neighborhoods. So we have three main focus areas on quality of life that we've been working on: downtown Silver Spring, our Long Branch area, which is the University Boulevard and Piney Branch Road, and the Piney Branch Road and Flower Avenue area. And then the last one is our White Oak area. And we've just wrapped up in October a 3 month operation on Lockwood Drive, right there by the 7-Eleven, the Popeyes, and the shopping center, where we focused on the White Oak Transit Center. And basically, there was everything going on there. There was nudity, drinking in public, drug sales, illegal markets were set up where they were selling stolen stuff. And it was very uncomfortable for the good people that were looking to use the buses for work or for transportation. So we did a lot of different teams and officers participated doing different things. Search warrants were served in some of the apartments on Lockwood Drive where drug sales are going on. And the drugs were like cocaine and crack cocaine. So it's not, it's pretty serious stuff. We're seeing an uptick in crack cocaine and cocaine usage and sales going on in the Silver Spring area. Um, we're seeing a decline in fentanyl, which is good. But in exchange, we're seeing an uptick in crack cocaine. So we're going to be continuing to focus on that as well. So we've seen some success in White Oak there. There was a 67% decrease in calls in the commercial area along that corridor and the bus stops. People are experiencing a better situation. We partnered with East County Regional Services, schools, and a bunch of other people came out. We did a neighborhood cleanup. They removed a lot of trash and different things that were there, and just made it just a really nicer environment visually as well. So that's something we're going to keep looking to do. We're currently focusing on Veterans Plaza in downtown Silver Spring with the ice rink opening. We're looking to enforce quality of life issues, marijuana usage, different things like that, that has in years past has bothered people that have been trying to visit the plaza down there. So far we've seen in the last month good directions on that. We've seen less people congregating in the plaza using drugs and things of that nature. So we'll keep that up. The last thing we're doing for the holiday season, it was in the news, and they continue to have success. Is we're doing a we did this last year. I did this last year as well, but we're doing something slightly different this year, but the same concept of a holiday crime suppression task force. So I pulled a few officers from different patrol shifts and put them in a special team that's going around and working with our retailers and our areas of public gathering and transit to increase safety around the holiday season when people are shopping and doing things like that. So they've already seized a few illegally possessed firearms, made a number of felony arrests, lots of theft arrests. They just got a stolen car today. A guy went into Target on Cherry Hill Road and tried to steal a bunch of stuff and jump into a stolen car. And our task force officers were there and made that apprehension. That guy is involved in thefts from all over the region, so not just here in Montgomery County. So we're working hard with all that stuff. We've had a very busy community engagement time since the last time we were together. Officer McLeod and Officer Franco have been out doing a variety of things. We just did most recently last weekend. We took kids from East Silver Spring over to Target in Wheaton for some Christmas shopping with officers. It was a good time. And this Friday night, we're having a number of children from the White Oak area that we're going to be having a Santa experience with at I believe we're doing it at the White Oak Rec Center this year. So those are things that we continue to do with children and youth. And then obviously we've done our 3-on-3 basketball tournaments and other sports with the kids that are a little older, and we're going to keep doing that, and that's growing. We're actually expanding next year into two additional high schools for our police and youth sports interactions. So that's really a good thing. Traffic, someone brought up. We have been focusing on the abandoned cars as folks report them. So if you have abandoned cars in your neighborhood, please report them to us. There's a website, Montgomery County Police website, where you can do that, or you can call the non-emergency number 301-279-8000, and we have our traffic complaint officer that'll come out and handle that. Where we're going for 2026 to continue, obviously, with the crime declines and keep pushing those numbers down by aggressively pursuing criminals. We're also going to be looking to try and increase our traffic safety operations. So we get a lot of complaints for stop sign running, for speeding, and things of that nature. So we're going to be looking to do some more initiatives and get creative with ways we can start targeting some of the traffic safety concerns that everybody in the Silver Spring community has been emailing and calling about. So that will be on the list for next year as well. We've started doing some of that already, but we're really going to look to expand that the best we can next year. We are going to get 7 new police recruits that are coming to train with us in January 18th. They'll be arriving for field training. So those 7 officers, hopefully they successfully complete field training, and then they will get assigned to shifts within the 3rd District. Where we're looking presently to try and upstaff a little bit is our Long Branch area. The Long Branch area, needs a few more officers to work in that particular area based on the amount of officers we had in the past and we lost due to some staffing issues and things of that nature. So we'll be looking to try to have a more sustained footprint in the University Boulevard and the Piney Branch Road corridor. particularly as we start to get ready for growth in those areas, Purple Line, different things like that. We're going to be looking to focus a little bit on Long Branch. So, other than that, that's what I got off the top of my head. Happy to answer questions and talk through anything.
Thank you very much, Commander. People, if you'd like to put a question in the chat, please do that. If you want to be recognized by raising your hand electronically, you can find that raise hand icon underneath the react button. And we'll start off with this question in the chat from Jay. What steps are you taking to improve traffic? Can you see it, Commander?
Yep, I see that. Yeah, so one thing that that's one area where we've had our motor officers working downtown occasionally. There is a lot of violations downtown. The one thing the council did, which was helpful in for pedestrian safety, could be frustrating for motorists, is expanded the number of no turn on red intersections. Because we do see when people in densely populated areas are turning right on red, that is about the same time people are crossing the crosswalks, and we have issues there. Obviously, when people are doing those violations, that's still unsafe as well. So downtown is one thing that we've is on the list amongst other places to do traffic enforcement, particularly as we start expanding that coming in the new year. But right now we're working mainly the Georgia Avenue corridor has been the focus of the more recent traffic enforcement efforts downtown. So, but there definitely are issues. As you noted, some of those things, we see those, we try to take action on them when we can as well.
Thank you. Liz Joyce, you've got a question.
I do. First of all, thank you so much. I corresponded with you. I live in Tacoma Avenue, and I emailed you, and you responded to me. And I also heard from Lieutenant Cap. We have had this cut-through traffic problem for years, and there is a lot of speeding, even though apparently when he checked it out, he didn't find a whole lot. But I'm trying to figure out, and my neighbors and I, what the big picture solution is, whether or not the police department can contribute to any kind of, interagency work. This happened because the state highway was administration was supposed to put in a traffic light at Ritchie and Piney Branch, and they put in a four-way stop instead. And what happens is the traffic backs up all the way to Philadelphia, and people get frustrated and are starting to use our street. And one of my neighbors counted 50 cars in 15 minutes just in one day. So even if they aren't speeding, which a lot of them are, it's a volume question too, because the street was not designed for that. So my question is, what can we do, and what you be able to do to help us?
Yeah, so I know I saw those emails, and thanks for letting us know about the problem. So one thing that Lieutenant Kep was doing is we have what's called a speed collection equipment that we put out, and that allows us to paint a picture for everyone on what's actually happening with speed. Because sometimes cars appear to be moving fast, and then or they sound like they're moving fast, but sometimes they're, going 6, 7, 8 miles an hour. And the perception of vehicles appearing to drive faster is quite common. So what we do is we put the sign out to capture the data, which really takes perception out of it. It says, hey, this is how fast these cars are going. These are the times where it's the busiest. So once we finalize that data and we're able to share that back with you, that'll kind of determine whether there's a problem that warrants some enforcement. One thing that if you're seeing a lot of cut through traffic, particularly during rush hour periods, I know other neighborhoods have reached out to their district council representative or the Department of Transportation about seeing about no cut through signs. So, for example, I know down off Connecticut Avenue and things like that, it'll say like no through traffic from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. or whatever the time frame is. So there may be some engineering changes that could be made with Department of Transportation, some signage and things of that nature, depending on how bad the cut through stuff is. But when people are using Waze as one example, If there is a choke point where traffic's backing up, it's going to redirect you to take different routes. And a lot of that time it cuts through people's neighborhoods.
Right. Exactly. Well,
So,
I'll look forward to your findings. And I think my personal opinion is that blocking it off for certain hours would be the best solution because that would eliminate the possibility. And we have bad traffic at rush hour in the afternoon, and also it started in the morning. So it's really hard to get out of the driveway, and of course that's not the worst problem in the world, but it's a problem, and it's more dangerous, particularly in our section is the Silver Spring section between Gist and Ritchie, and there are no sidewalks. So that makes it very dangerous for anyone who's walking. So anything you can think of, it's been my experience that the county is reluctant to close off streets and sometimes I believe the neighbors have to go along with it, and that's an issue too. But once we have the hard data from you, we can know what we're dealing with and then what to ask for.
yep. And if there is a speeding problem, someone put in the chat speed bumps. Yeah, if there is an actual speeding problem, then there's enforcement that could be done, but then also we would look at some engineering things. And speed bumps is something that communities have asked for and have received in the past. So those are all options. The other thing sometimes that you see, which is a little unsafe, but maybe not speeding, is when somebody gets frustrated and they turn down the street because they're stuck in traffic and then they accelerate rapidly. So the initial acceleration to get that speed up quickly because they're frustrated can seem like a car's really flying, but that type of rapid acceleration can still be a little unsafe, particularly if there's no sidewalks, even if they don't really get way over the speed limit. So it's just, yeah, we'll see what the data shows. For sure, happy to help. And then I did see Jay put in here about Colesville Road. Yep, that obviously is another focus for traffic enforcement as well. The whole 29 corridor all the way up to Burtonsville. Gets, especially as you get north of White Oak, it really kind of turns into an interstate in many ways, multiple lanes and different things like that.
Thank you, Commander. Thank you, Liz Joyce, for that question. Commander, I got an email earlier today. They said ask him about ICE activity in the area. Last week, there was, I didn't see it myself. There was reports of, ICE vehicles, gathering in the parking lot of Nolte Park. And there was a report that somebody was abducted there. Can you just give us a 30,000 foot view of ICE activity in the area and what you see from MCPD?
Yeah, definitely. So hearing the same things that folks from the community had reached out to me as well. I will tell you that when ICE comes to town, we don't know about it. They don't tell us in advance or anything like that. We also don't participate in immigration sweeps or immigration operations, so there's no joint Montgomery County Police ICE task force or details that do that. So a lot of times we hear rumors from the community. If sometimes we'll have officers drive by and see what's going on. So we had one with the parks, and I think a park police officer went by, and maybe by the time they got there, they had left, so we didn't see anything. But then there was another case where we did have an officer respond to a community member that called that there was some suspicious activity, and we did find out it was ICE. And so what we do in those cases is we just verify that it is in fact legitimate law enforcement. We'll ask to talk to an agent and see the credentials. But once we verify that they are real police, because one thing we're afraid of is people dressing up as ICE and engaging in robberies and kidnapping. So we still go out and investigate if somebody calls. And we found recently that it was the real ICE, and they were engaged in a federal lawful operation that we don't get in the middle of, and we don't, we just verify who they are and step out of the way because there's not much we can do about it. So, yeah, we primarily heard a lot of it more so going on in the Langley Park area, New Hampshire Avenue, University Boulevard. I did hear the reports from East Silver Spring more recently the other day, and I think there was something maybe a month or so ago on Flower Avenue. But overall, I think our ice activity has been quite low compared to surrounding areas. I don't know why, or we just don't know that they're here. But the community's usually been good, I think, about sharing information with each other. So sometimes we hear about it.
Thank you. Liz, you raise your hand again.
Dan has a question.
So there was a shooting and a murder near me on Richmond Avenue and Fenton Street. Uh, and apparently these characters came from, of all places, Laurel, even though initially there were all kinds of ugly comments about them coming from my parents' neighborhood in the district, and I had to listen to all that usual nonsense. So I wondered if you had an update, and I don't understand why somebody from Laurel feels the need to come all the way down here and get into an argument and shoot each other.
Yeah,
Could you,
so that
you
was
just
frustrating.
generally talk about homicides, whether or not
Yep.
that had bumped up?
Yeah, so yep, I can. So year to date, our homicides are the same as last year. I think we've had 8 this year so far. Um, we were trending to have 0 in downtown Silver Spring until this incident
Mm.
there on Fenton Street the other day. So downtown Silver Spring has experienced very little shooting violence. This was an isolated event. You're right, the folks were from Laurel. They actually came to Silver Spring to frequent some businesses on the Fenton Street corridor. They were going to, be customers and go shopping, and they're actually related. They're cousins, and so apparently they got into an argument of some kind, which escalated. Both of them were carrying guns, and the one guy took his gun out and shot the other guy, and why they did that on Fenton Street, I'm not really sure if there was some simmering problems from earlier in the day or earlier in the week. It's unfortunate that they did it in Silver Spring. There's no ties to Silver Spring for them
Mm.
whatsoever. They were just literally here coming to our commercial area. So yeah, I don't know why that happened like that. It's unfortunate for the family as well and everything. Um, so that's it for downtown. So our other we've had
Well,
some.
just a follow-up question.
Yeah.
When you say they came down there because they were attracted to some particular Silver Spring business, it wasn't by any chance the Rise marijuana place right next door there, was it?
So what I had been told, at least initially, I'm not sure if they were going to frequent that dispensary. I do think they were looking to go to the home court and some other businesses on that side street there near Philadelphia Avenue. I don't know. I can't say for certain that they were or not, where they were or were not going to go to the dispensary. It did happen literally right outside the dispensary on the
Right.
street there. But I did hear that I think their intention was at least first to go to home court. I don't know where they were going to go after that, the clothing store there, which I think was their primary destination.
Mm.
So,
Thank you.
um, yep. And we got that person in custody within, I think 2 hours after that happened. We had a helicopter up. We had our plainclothes officers that went out and about 2 or 3 hours later got that person in custody and they are in jail, so they're no longer a threat to the community. The homicides that we have had, there have been a few domestic related ones, so that's like in someone's private home involving family members. There have the ones that we had 2 this year at University and Piney Branch area. One was at the Exxon, one was near the Long Branch Rec Center. Those were gang related drug disputes. Anytime there's a murder involving drugs, oddly enough, in Montgomery County, in particular Silver Spring, it's always around marijuana. So we don't have drugs like cocaine and fentanyl that people are shooting each other over. Appears to be a constant, or at least over the last 2 years that I've been here, a constant theme with marijuana involvement. And so even though it's been decriminalized and you can go to a dispensary and safely buy it, we're still seeing violence and illegal drug sales involving marijuana from what some drug dealers have told us to obviously avoid taxation and then also the quality of marijuana. They think they can sell at the street level can be a higher percentage of THC that may be regulated through the industry standards through the dispensary. So there is a black market for it. It is a lot of violence surrounding it. You would think it would be all the harder drugs that people would be shooting each other over, but that's not happening. So the drugs that in the two homicides related in Long Branch, we did have marijuana present at those, and we believe they're related to MS-13 gang activity. Arrests have been made in those homicides, so those individuals are not on the street in the community. Some of the homicides that we had happen up in Fairland, in the northern Silver Spring area, there was some domestic ones, and then there was some marijuana. We had a homicide off Fairland that we think the individual was involved in criminal activity to include marijuana. We had another homicide off of the Briggs Cheney corridor. I think Gateshead Manor may have been the neighborhood. That was a marijuana drug deal setup that turned into a robbery and a shootout. So the there are we have not had cases this year of anyone going to dinner or going to the grocery store and being murdered randomly. It's either known through domestic or known through criminal activity. So the domestic related homicides, those are tough because sometimes they happen. We don't have a heads up. If someone has a mental health crisis, an argument with a family member, those are things that can be harder to intervene and prevent. The criminal related homicides, those are ones where the conduct that we're doing with proactive traffic stops, proactive drug enforcement, we're trying to intercept folks carrying these guns illegally with drugs and different things before violence happens. We've been taking a lot of illegal guns off the street by prohibited people, convicted felons, and things of that nature. The way we look at it is if we can take an illegal gun away from a criminal, that is a prevented shooting or potentially a prevented homicide. So I really reward my officers when they make those gun arrests because they are saving lives by doing that work. A lot of that's primarily through lawful professional traffic enforcement and other types of enforcement. So that's the homicide overview.
Well, thank you for that. That's exactly what I wanted to know. I've seen some reports recently about school violence, ghost guns in school, fights, stabbings. Is that a problem in the third district? School violence?
Um, we had some small issues in the third district. We haven't had the level of issues that you may read about in the other schools. But we did have some fighting at Blair High School. We've had some issues, some small issues with folks from Blake, even though that's in the fourth district, but there are students from Blake that live in the third district and Paint Branch. The issues at Blair were at the beginning of the school year. There were some issues from over the summer that kind of bubbled up that resulted in Four Corners, some really large fights in the street and stuff. We did make arrests in that, and then we worked with the school, with Street Outreach Network and our partners in other partners like HHS and stuff to intervene and kind of uncover what's going on between these kids and try to help alternative solutions then to fighting. Since that engagement, we've had no issues like that, like we saw in September. We haven't had any issues at Blair. Blake and Paint Branch, they're rival schools, both in sports and then just probably generally geography. So we've seen some issues between that, but very sporadic. Nothing that is a huge everyday thing. We haven't had knock on wood, stabbings in any of the third district schools or any extreme violence like that. A lot of fist fights and kids, doing kid stuff. But when we have those things happen, we try to work with them to find out what's going on. Is someone being bullied? And can we try to work through relieving that pressure without it turning physical?
Can you update us on the drone program downtown Silver Spring and then White Oak? Did you ever get permission to move ahead with drones in White Oak?
Yep. So So we have some approvals from our federal partners to expand into White Oak. We're waiting for some procurement and contract issues to get cleaned up before we can move forward with the technology. But we will have um, drones available in White Oak, hopefully in the coming months, early 2026. We're currently have our drone temporarily stationed at White Oak while we are working rapidly to fix the issues that we had downtown. So downtown on Georgia Avenue, north of Colesville Road, there's a big crane. They're building a new parking garage next to the Lee Building. And that crane, the way it operates, it made it unsafe for our drone to land and take off in downtown Silver Spring. So we're currently working with some partners. We've identified another building downtown that currently the lawyers are working through the agreement to be able to use that building. We're hopeful that in the next few weeks that we're back operational in downtown Silver Spring. That's the goal, to have the drone back downtown, and we miss it downtown. And I hear from folks that live downtown that at least ones I've seen and talked to, that the businesses and stuff are looking forward to having it back. So,
So can you get a drone from White Oak down to downtown Silver Spring to be useful?
not so right now we can't fly from White Oak to downtown. We stay around the White Oak area. We've been deploying our mobile drone truck to downtown occasionally to be able to provide some help down there as needed. But we think we'll have the drone full time back in downtown Silver Spring, hopefully in a couple weeks. The only thing that is troubling this time of year, and it's a good thing because people are spending time with their family, but a lot of people take off around Christmas and Hanukkah and different holidays. So some of the lawyers may not be in the office every day, and that slows down some of the paperwork. But we'll be back downtown soon, and then as soon as we get this procurement and contract issue figured out, we'll be moving forward with some of the new technology, and White Oak is one of the first stops for that. And then that'll service White Oak, Cherry Hill Road corridor. I think we're going to get down to Hillendale, and we might get down to Four Corners. So that's going to be a nice area of drone coverage for the middle of Silver Spring.
Have you had good conversations with the people in the community about the use of the drones in that new area?
Yep. So we've had some positive discussions. We've talked about it multiple times at East County Citizens Advisory Board. I am going to be partnering when we get a more firm date with what's going on with the equipment. Before we buy the equipment, be working with Council Member Mink's office to do a town hall style engagement up in the White Oak area to allow folks to come and talk about what's happening and share information. And the same thing we did with all the other sites before we went active. We did the engagement. We've been doing constant community engagement since the program started, but we're going to do offer another town hall prior to next steps in White Oak.
Sounds good. If anybody's got some questions, please put them in the chat or raise your hand. I've got a list of questions here, and wanted to ask you about the prevalence of the quality of life issues in downtown Silver Spring, in particular, sort of the mental health issues. I mean, personally, I've observed people who may have that kind of uh, disability, and wondering if you've had better partnership with Health and Human Services and getting your people out of dealing with mental illness on the streets.
Yeah, I mean it's a long process, and but we have a good relationship with HHS downtown. With our homeless outreach, encampment outreach. We just I think Officer Nikki Hawkins today was getting someone back into the shelter and breaking down an encampment on Selham Road. We've been working with HHS on the mental health stuff, our mobile crisis teams. We actually have some HHS partners that are embedded with officers, or I should say officers are with them. The officers, are wearing khaki pants and polo shirts, so they're not wearing the uniform, but they're they're looking to try to take some of these mental health calls and get people services. Um, we did have an individual recently that two of our officers downtown, it was this person is a veteran, and they were having some problems that was causing police calls and things of that nature. So instead of just responding to the calls and dealing with this person each time, they actually took the extra time to solve the problem, to work with HHS, to work with the VA, and get this person some actual help. And good news is that person is doing a lot better now. So our officers are, very aware of the different programs and resources. And, sometimes you have to be dedicated because not everybody wants voluntary assistance. And so sometimes it takes a lot of time interacting with someone to try to convince them to get help. I was dealing with a guy on Fenton Street the other day, and, it was getting cold outside, and it looked like he was going to try to sleep next to the H&M. And I said, hey, can I get you over to the shelter? And he said, I don't want to go to the shelter. And so it's like, okay, we can't force the person to go to the shelter, but spending some extra time with them, what else can we do to get you into a place that's not the sidewalk? So it can be difficult at times, but we're plugging away best we can. There is a lot of mental health issues, and we do see a lot of quality of life crimes committed by folks with mental health issues. So sometimes we do charge them in an effort to get them into, if they're not willing voluntarily for assistance, we can charge them and then partner with the state's attorney's office to get them into mental health court. We have homeless court, things like that, that kind of, a judge can kind of direct someone to kind of get some help and services. And so we do sometimes do that as well.
Can you talk a little bit more about the retail theft, the shoplifting? I was surprised by the statistic you cited about the seven shoplifters at Thayer Safeway last week. Is that the exception rather than the rule? Do you have the same kind of shoplifting at other supermarkets throughout the third district?
Yeah, supermarkets are one of our busier places. We see folks that go in and steal laundry detergents, bulk amount of laundry detergent, bulk amount of meat, bulk amount of other things that then they go. So, for example, with the laundry detergent, someone steals a bunch of laundry detergent and then they go to a local laundromat and then they go in there and try to sell it to people cheaper than what they may pay out of the machine. So you may have people that are stealing meats and stuff like that that then go and try to sell it to food trucks or different things like that. Just for example, so a lot of more organized retail theft. We were seeing in Hillendale at the Safeway, people were going in and stealing a lot of cheese and different products that we found were going to Langley Park to some of the food trucks and stuff. So the food trucks would buy those products, cheaper than they would have to pay if they went to the store, buying them from somebody. So grocery stores are that, but we see it, some of the clothing stores, the mall as well, Target on Cherry Hill Road. So, CVS, there's always a lot of theft going on at CVS. I will tell you the CVS theft generally is drinks and chips, and kids are going in there and stealing stuff all the time. Sometimes we do get, more organized people going in and with a trash bag trying to clean out a bunch of stuff out of the CVS and things. But so what we do is we've identified our top retail theft locations, and then we establish partnerships with each of them, and then we embed officers at these locations between our central business district team, our patrol officers, our holiday detail we're doing now. And so they'll work with the stores, and that's what they were doing at Safeway. They'll be with security in the store, and then they'll be able to apprehend these people real time as the stuff's happening.
Is it a crime to receive stolen goods? If you sell the cheese to a food truck, are they culpable for a crime?
Yeah, if we can prove it, if it grew to that level of an investigation, there definitely is conspiracy and other charges that could be had. The state just passed, it just took effect this October, an organized retail theft law, which allows us to, because there's certain dollar values that you have to steal in order for it to gain consequence, whether it's a felony or things of that nature. Well, what the organized retail theft law allows is, if Alan Bowser's a retail thief, we can, if you went in and stole on 10 different days, we don't have to make those 10 different cases. We can make it all one big case under, if you were engaged in organized retail theft, and charge you that way, which increases the penalties. Versus previously, um, we had some limited ways to do that, but we'd have to sometimes treat those as separate incidents. It depends if there's some type of scheme or organization is what it comes down to.
And for the record,
So
not involved in organized retail theft. There's a
sure.
question in the chat. Um, I have an elderly relative in Silver Spring. I understand that she can have installed a lockbox containing a house key to allow police or fire department entry without breaking down a door window. Do you have any comment or suggestion about that?
Uh, we see that in some residential structures like apartment buildings and stuff. I think that is a program that would be, I know on the apartment buildings and different stuff, that is a program that's run from Montgomery County Fire Rescue. So I'm not an expert in that. I would encourage contacting the fire department with some questions about that, but they call them Knox boxes, but those are managed by the fire department. And they have access to all those to get into different buildings and stuff.
Does your office get questions from people in the community about online scams and telephone scams, where somebody might represent themselves as belonging to an organization or a company, and then they try to take from seniors or people who are just not able to deal with something that sounds like it's too good to be true.
Yeah, there's lots of scams out there. If you sometimes they even impersonate police organizations to say, "Hey, help support the police, donate to the Fraternal Order of Police." These legitimate public safety organizations aren't going to call you directly asking for money. The police foundation, different things like that. They're not getting a Rolodex of phone numbers and cold calling people asking for donations. There's also, we see a variety of scams. There's just so many. We could spend probably all night just talking about that. We've seen scams where somebody calls and says, "Alan, I have your son, and he did this, this, and this, and if you don't pay the fine right now, we're going to lock him up and yeah, whatever." So, but you need to go. What you'll see with a lot of these scams is they'll get you to try to buy gift cards or something and give them the gift card information, or get your some other electronic transfer of money that once they get a hold of it, they can quickly move it to other accounts. So I'm very cautious with people over the phone and organizations asking for money. And one trick that they do, particularly with our elderly community, is they try to create a sense of urgency. Like something's happening right now that you need to send money, whatever that might be. I don't know, family member's in trouble, family member is arrested, or they'll say you have a warrant for your arrest. If you don't pay the fine right now over the phone, we're going to come lock you up. So anything where there's like a sense of urgency should be a red flag. And then obviously if you get a call that says, "Hey, your son, your cousin, your uncle, whatever is," before you send anything, try calling them first. Make sure that you know, just don't be rushed into sending money to someone.
Yeah, I've received quite a few calls from people who were concerned about that, and turns out that their nephew or their grandson had not been abducted or had been not been arrested, and it was a scam. Does your office have a dedicated person who handles that kind of scam activity?
So we do have a financial crimes section. Compared to the amount of fraud that's out there, they're woefully understaffed. but they will investigate certain types of fraud depending on the dollar amount. They've actually been successful at clawing some money back that's been taken from people. Some their businesses sometimes, or if there's embezzlement or something, they or a fraud. Let's say you sent $25,000 to someone. If our fraud detectives get involved early enough, sometimes they've been able to trace that money and freeze it and actually get it back for people, which has been very nice. So yeah, we do have people, but they have to kind of pick and choose what they investigate and when they're short staffed. And one thing with investigators, when we pick and choose what we're going to investigate, it's not that everyone's case is important, but when we have such limited time and limited people, we look at solvability factors. And if a case has very low solvability, there's no leads, there's no evidence, there's no clues. Our time is sometimes better spent on cases that have clues and evidence and suspects. And so there will be solvability determinations that unfortunately mean that sometimes some people's cases don't get the attention that maybe it deserves.
A couple of years ago, we had a homicide in a downtown Silver Spring parking garage. Um, I guess one of the conclusions from the investigation is that there was not adequate coverage by closed circuit television cameras. Are you happy with the progress that's been made to installing those cameras in the downtown garages?
Yeah, and council, I almost called her council president. I'm so used to saying that. Council member Stewart, we now have a new council president. Council member Stewart has been a big advocate for that in the downtown. We have a great relationship with DOT, and they have been putting a lot of resources into the garages with cameras and lighting and different things. So we're seeing an improvement on that. And I know that the job's not done. But I do see DOT working to improve cameras and different things like that. And I've seen an improvement, I'll tell you that, in the last couple years. And it's benefited the police officers as well with some of the problems that we've had occasionally in the garages. So it's better than it was. And I know they're still working to continue making it better.
After a couple of questions, we can call it a night. Somebody sent a question and they wanted to know, they said in Tacoma Park there are AI stop signs. Does that mean anything to you? Some kind of AI powering, traffic enforcement?
Yeah, so it's a pilot that they're doing in Tacoma Park. So the state legislature allowed Tacoma Park specifically to pilot stop sign enforcement cameras that use AI. I'm not sure the intricacies of how it works, but they are piloting that in Tacoma Park. I saw some articles about it. So it's not available in greater Montgomery County. It's a very limited pilot, but we'll see where that goes and see if it's something that gets expanded.
Thank you for that answer. Circling back to one of the things that you mentioned at the beginning about the abandoned cars, has there been an increase in abandoned cars over the time that you've been here? I mean, is it a significant thing or is it kind of haphazard?
It comes and goes. I wouldn't say we've seen an increase per se, as it's just constant. And I think why it's constant is as we go through the list of reported cars, I think people are getting better about reporting them, which is nice. It helps us out. So when someone reports it, it comes into a dashboard. It gets assigned to the third district, and our traffic complaint officer goes out, stickers. And sometimes we've cleaned up some areas that then become problems again, particularly with commercial vehicles and stuff. So the community will report that to us, and we'll go back out and deal with it. So I think it ebbs and flows. I don't think that we've seen a huge increase per se. It's just kind of like as we take care of them, kind of an up and down.
Thanks. Liz Joyce.
Dan has another one.
So there's a nightclub on Georgia Avenue next to the World Building that has a tendency, particularly on Sundays, to operate at very loud volumes, and it gets to be annoying at times. I've had some informal discussions with them and reminded them that my lawyer pointed out that sound that exceeds the limits, if it crosses into the property line, it's considered trespassing. They can be sued for that. That seems to tone them down a little bit. But I wondered, do the police play any role in that? Because they seem to, I don't know why they feel they have to be that loud on a Sunday.
So noise is primarily addressed through the Department of Environmental Protection for Montgomery County. So if you had an ongoing noise issue with a business, that would be a Department of Environmental Protection could come out with the decibel machines and examine that. Believe it or not, noise is treated as like an air quality issue, and that's why the DEP is the primary on that. We've been a part of inspections and things of that nature. Um, and we've inspected that particular location at least twice now since I've been here with permitting and alcohol services and things like that. The last time we inspected them, they were in fairly good compliance with everything, just some small things here and there. Last summer, 2024, so I guess a year and a half ago, we found a number of violations, but the different county agencies, I think, have been working with them to try to get them compliant in all and everything. I haven't been a part of any recent inspections, not that other agencies may be doing them, and it's just not, the police don't always go because they're not necessarily police issues, whether it's food safety, health safety, fire safety, things like that.
Thank you for the question, Dan. Yeah, I've seen large crowds outside that club next to the World Building, early in the morning. I mean, it looks like hundreds of people. So it looks like it would be on your radar screen. There's a new question in the chat from Jay. Hate to belabor traffic issues, but the reversible lane on Colesville Road south of Sligo Creek Parkway is being frequently violated, and it's very dangerous. During evening rush hour, there have been near accidents every night this week at Colesville southbound and Dale eastbound. It would be great if police would monitor traffic during the evening rush hour, especially during the period when the lane shifts occurs. Is that a police issue or is that a DOT issue?
I mean, DOT's doing it right. They have the lane markings over the lanes, green versus red. Some of it is an issue with people not paying attention to the colors of what lanes are open and what's closed. Sometimes, particularly at Dale, I've seen where someone wants to make a left turn on Dale from Colesville Road, and they think they're in a turn lane, but really they're in an oncoming lane for rush hour. So
Right.
it happens. There is a traffic violation for that, so it would be a police issue. A lot of times we're dealing with people that just aren't paying attention well enough. So, and sorry that your car got hit. That's not very good. But yeah, we see people do that. They dart out into the oncoming lane because they're trying to make a turn or something. So, but there is failure to obey lane designations is the traffic violation that we could enforce on that. So it could be done. Yes, I'll pass that.
It's a scary intersection. I mean, even if you live here, it's hard to identify which lane is ongoing, which is going in the right direction for you. I make a turn at Sligo Creek Parkway to go over to Wayne Avenue to get home rather than going up to Dale Drive. Liz Joyce or Dan? There you go.
After you cited that regulation, it reminded me of a case that I was involved in where I was actually hit by a pickup truck while crossing the street at Sligo and Fenton Street, and he was making a left turn, and when it ended up in court, he got out of the ticket because the police officer used the chapter on that basically said you're not allowed to hit people, but it also said it doesn't apply to sections with a traffic control device. And so the state attorney looked at me and he threw up his hands and said, well, you're going to have to ask your legislators to do something about that. But when I got back to the office, there is a whole separate section on traffic control intersections with traffic control devices, and therein lies the citation that says you can't hit somebody. So basically, I asked the state attorney if they could kindly add that as a footnote so that when you and your colleagues write a ticket, uh, they don't have to be a lawyer and find the right section to write the ticket. I don't know if that's ever been corrected, but I think that's something you may want to, be aware of.
Yeah, we have a on the ticket system, they put like the frequently used charges, and one of them is failure to obey a traffic control device, which could be you know, any piece of equipment or something that's managing traffic. Yeah, sometimes some of these charges can get pretty tricky, and an officer might accidentally charge an incorrect section, and then yeah, there's a loophole once they get to court. But yeah, the traffic law book is real thick. There's a lot of charges in there, so an officer's got to, make sure they're clicking the right button and paying attention to what section they're clicking to make sure they don't click the wrong thing.
Well, the Attorney General's office called me to find out if I was a nutcase, and I passed the test. So I had hoped that it would finally, be in your fancy book. But I think what I'd like to do is share that letter with you, and then maybe you can wave it around your office and see if maybe finally they might want to do that. I think it's unfair for you and your colleagues to have to figure all that out when it's, a clever lawyer in the court, can wiggle out of a ticket that way. I actually said to the judge, I don't even know why you asked me to come and testify if that's the way you handle things. And well, he talked for like 10 minutes. So then I realized when a judge talks that long, they realize something's wrong and they want to, gloss the record.
Hmm. I put my email in the chat, so if you or anyone else needs to correspond, I put that in there for everyone.
For those of you who can't see the chat, it's 3D Commander at MontgomeryCountyMD.gov. Commander Cokinos, I want to circle back to another item that you raised at the beginning about staffing. You're going to get 7 new officers in the beginning of next year. Have you seen increased retirements from your staff or noticed that that's happening around the county? Is that still a problem? And is it worrisome?
Well, I think what's worrisome is the people who could retire. So countywide, we have people that are eligible to retire, or they're going into the deferred retirement program, which basically says, hey, in 3 years, they're gone. So those are things that we have a heads up on when someone's in the deferred retirement option program, the drop program. But um, the in the third district, no, we have a lot of young officers, so we don't see too many retirements. Our last retirement was Kirk Considine, who was very well known in different neighborhoods in Silver Spring. We do have some other officers that have been here for a while. I have not heard that they're looking to leave anytime soon. We've had some officers enter the deferred retirement program, so we'll have them for hopefully the full 3 years. But the amount of people leaving, we're still short-staffed, but there's more people that could leave than are leaving, so that's good. We just need to hope that they stay a little longer and we can start hiring more people. We're optimistic that the July 2026 class will have hopefully more people than we've seen in some of these other classes to start to make up the gap in officers.
So this is maybe, I don't know how you want to answer this question. So you're lucky to be the commander of a brand new police station. But recently we saw some horrible news reports about the Glenmont police station. And I'm wondering if you have any inside knowledge about how how that ever got to be as bad as it was. Who dropped the ball? Is that an MCPD? Is that General Services? It really was quite shocking what we saw on TV.
Yeah, I mean, so the third district station was built in 2014, so we're pretty lucky. We're, 11 years old. It's in real good shape. We keep it in good shape. We have excellent staff from DGS and our cleaning crews and stuff that do a great job. But yeah, the Wheaton station's in a tough spot. They need a new station or some alternate space. I know that council members, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and Council Member Lukey were there recently, firsthand seeing the facility, the chief of police and others. Uh, I never worked in the building directly. Our building maintenance people are professional staff. They're not sworn officers. So I don't know the intricacies of what's happened or not happened over the last number of years, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. And it sounds like there's some momentum to try to do something, but long overdue, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. Does anybody have any other questions for the commander for this
Can you hear
December
me?
meeting?
Ed Weiler.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things that they talked about is pedestrian safety. And I went downtown Silver Spring by Philadelphia and Georgia. And although all the crossings signals are working correctly, people just step off the curb and you name it. And the other issue is if you're 2 blocks away from a bank robbery in Silver Springs, it's almost impossible to get there quickly, correct?
Things are getting well, I'll start with the second point. So traffic is always tough, right, in an urban area. That's why we like the drone because the drone just flies there real quick. Traffic has gotten a lot better since Wayne and Fenton Street and Wayne Avenue has opened back up. Some of the Purple Line construction at Georgia and Bonifant has opened up a little bit, so we're seeing the ability to not be able to use Fenton Street at Wayne Avenue was very tough over the summer. But so things are getting better, but traffic's bad. But that's any urban area. You sit with your siren on and try to navigate some of that, especially at rush hour. Luckily, we have a lot of officers in the downtown, so the response times, we have some of the best response times in the county in the third district to lights and sirens calls. So we are most recently under, I think, around 5 minutes or under to get to some of these things, which is really good. The other point about jaywalking, essentially, yeah, I mean, you see that in all the cities and stuff. I was just in New York, and there's more jaywalkers than probably cars. But it's definitely something that happens. I am actually surprised that we actually do not have a lot of serious pedestrian collisions in downtown Silver Spring. There are other parts of the county that have significant pedestrian collision and pedestrian fatality issues. Not to say we don't have collisions, but with the amount of people jaywalking, knock on wood, luckily we haven't had more people hurt. But it is something that occasionally we'll enforce when we can, but there's definitely more people jaywalking than our ability to enforce that.
Any other
And
questions
the
for the
last question
commander?
I have, can you give me a number on the number of officers you're short?
In the it changes every week or so. I think we're somewhere. I want to say and I could be wrong on this. I think we're somewhere around 170 maybe or so, or 180. Somewhere in that world. And in Silver Spring, I'm trending about 15 to 17% short of where my authorized numbers are. And now the bigger question is those authorized numbers were made a long time ago before a lot of the growth in Silver Spring. So when we're at quote authorized, are we still below where we should be based on the growth in population and density and call volume? So, but for the data point, I can say I'm about 15 to 17% at any given time vacant in the third district.
Thank you for that question. Anybody else have anything else for the commander? And seeing no questions, Commander Cokinos, thank you so much for joining us for Safe Silver Spring in December. And we look forward to catching up with you in the new year. Thank you for all you do and for the great results that you and your officers are getting in Silver Spring. So have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right. Well, have a wonderful holiday to everyone, and a safe new year, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you.